Hello. This presentation is a part of Roosevelt Care Center's compliance trainings. Compliance programs are a very important part of healthcare because they help us identify and resolve issues as they come up. Compliance programs are mandatory, and everyone involved with a healthcare facility is required to participate in the compliance program. In order to help you participate in the program, we conduct training so that you know what the rules are and what you should do if you or someone else violates a rule. Today, we will be talking about privacy and social media. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, known as HIPAA, requires the establishment of national standards for the electronic transmission of protected health information, or PHI. At first, billing was a primary concern, but now, as facilities begin implementing electronic health records, the amount of PHI stored, used, and transmitted electronically is increasing rapidly. In order to protect the privacy of residents' PHI, HIPAA regulates how we use and disclose PHI. What is PHI? PHI is any information that can identify an individual, including name, date of birth, social security number, address, medical diagnosis, medical record number, photo, etc. To be compliant with HIPAA, facilities are required to implement appropriate safeguards for the protection of residents' privacy. This means that information should only be disclosed to those who are legally entitled to it, because there is a valid authorization. Authorization may be in the form of a power of attorney, but it may also be implicit, which means that it is not written in the document. For example, if a resident's daughter is very active in her mother's care, and the mother never objects to the sharing of protected health information in front of her daughter, then the mother has authorized her daughter to receive PHI, even though there is no written authorization. PHI may also be used or disclosed as otherwise permitted or required by law. Sometimes authorization is not needed. We do not need authorization for three things. Billing. We do not need the resident to give us authorization to bill or receive reimbursement for items or services that we provide. Treatment. We do not need the resident to give us authorization to share the information with coworkers or other healthcare providers and suppliers who help us treat the resident. Healthcare operations. We do not need the resident to give us authorization to share information internally so that we can conduct our day-to-day operations. For example, when we share information during a quality assurance meeting. If you ever have any questions as to whether someone should have access to information or whether you should disclose information to a certain individual, please tell them that you have to check with your supervisor and ask. You can always contact the facility's privacy officer, Alan Fialka, if you are not able to determine whether someone should be given information. Once you have determined that someone is allowed to have the information, it is important to only use or disclose the minimum necessary information to accomplish the purpose. This means that if the individual asks about X, you can tell the individual X. You should also not tell the individual Y, Z, and A, B, or C. What is your responsibility under HIPAA? Do not use, discuss, or disclose PHI with anyone who is not allowed to have the information or anyone who does not need to know the information. This includes coworkers not providing care to the resident, friends, family, etc. In order to best ensure that there are no violations of HIPAA, we recommend that you follow these best practices. Keep papers with residents' name and identifying information covered or out of sight. This includes records at the nursing units. Be aware of your surroundings. Do not talk about residents in public areas, including elevators. When speaking about residents in the presence of others, keep your tone quiet so the information is kept confidential. Shred documents containing resident information. If you aren't sure whether information should be used or disclosed, refer the question to a supervisor. He or she will ensure that the person is authorized to have access to the information. You have a duty to report violations of HIPAA. If you suspect there has been an improper use or disclosure of PHI by yourself, a coworker, or the facility, you have an obligation to report it immediately to your supervisor, the privacy officer, or the compliance hotline. We will discuss reporting again later in this presentation. The unauthorized use or disclosure of PHI is considered a violation of HIPAA and may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination and/or civil and criminal penalties ranging from $100 to $250,000 and up to 10 years imprisonment. The severity of the consequence may depend on the use or disclosure and whether it was intentional. With the advent of social media, we have seen an increasing number of HIPAA violations. Consider this. CNA takes a picture of her resident's genitalia. Her friend, another CNA, posts the photo to Facebook. Is this a HIPAA violation? Yes. The facility and its employees have a duty to protect the privacy of residents' protected health information, which includes photos identifying the resident. The government considers HIPAA violations like this to be very serious. Not only did the CNAs disclose protected health information without authorization, but the disclosure was intentional and, because of its content, exploited an elderly resident. So in that case, what happened? Both CNAs are terminated. They risk losing their certifications. They receive fines ranging from $30,000 to $45,000. They receive jail time ranging from 10 to 15 years. Do not post protected health information to social media. What is social media? Examples include online virtual communities such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and MySpace. Photo and video sharing networks such as Instagram, YouTube, and Vine. Chat rooms, blogs, podcasts, message boards, and user-generated web or online content. It is important that you are aware of these social media rules. Again, do not post any health information that could be used to identify patients, for example, first or last name, age or date of birth, location, health condition, financial information, or photographs. Do not post anything that would potentially embarrass you, your fellow employees, or the facility. Do not post any information that may violate local, state, or federal laws, including content that may be viewed as discrimination, harassment, or threats to coworkers or residents. Refrain from posting any content that may be viewed as defamation, plagiarism, advertising, or claims of expertise. Adhere to the facility's code of conduct and policies regarding restrictions on confidential information. Remember that users are personally responsible for all content they post on social media sites. As we mentioned earlier, everyone associated with a healthcare provider has a duty to be a part of the provider's compliance program. This means that you have an obligation as an employee to be compliant and report noncompliance. If you see a violation of HIPAA or a violation of the social media policy, you must report it immediately. You can report to your immediate supervisor, the privacy officer Alan Fialka, and/or to the compliance hotline at 1-800-557-1066. If you call the hotline, it is important to remember a few things. You have two options. You can leave your name and number, or you can leave an anonymous message. If you leave your name and number, we may give you a call back if you have not left enough information for us to start an investigation. If you do not want to leave your name and number, you don't have to. You can leave us an anonymous message. If you do not wish for us to know who you are, please leave us a message with the name of the facility and enough information for us to start an investigation. If you do not wish for us to know who you are, please do not leave your name or your telephone number. If you make a report in good faith, which means you believe it to be true, to your supervisor, the privacy officer, or through the compliance hotline, you will not be retaliated against. This means that you will not be fired, demoted, skipped for promotion, have your hours changed, wages changed, or benefits changed. To summarize, protect residents' protected health information from unauthorized uses and disclosures. Do not disclose residents' protected health information on the internet or other form of social media. If you become aware of a violation of HIPAA or the social media policy, report the violation to your supervisor, the privacy officer, or the compliance hotline.